Ah, g, g, egregious games.
It's been a year since I opened this YouTube channel, and in that time it's grown to a whopping 338 subscribers. I couldn't be more grateful. We've chatted about Metroid, Total War, Elden Ring, and many other games besides. Regardless of why you subscribed, I just want to say thank you. Sometimes it's checking my phone in the morning and seeing that subscriber count go up that motivates me to get out of bed. And when I get a really nice comment, it genuinely brightens my day. So if you watch no further in this video, I just want you to know that you're awesome and I appreciate you. So, some of you know, I don't just talk about games, I also sometimes make them. And in this video, I want to talk about that journey, my journey through life towards game dev, and the plans I have for the future, including this channel. A little about myself that you might or might not know. I'm autistic, and I also confirmed just last month that it turns out I've gone my whole life with undiagnosed ADHD. So if you know anything about those two things, you might be able to guess that school was hell for me. I was told I was gifted, but between the depression, the executive dysfunction, and the inability to manage my time, I did not do well. In fact, despite doing well on my exams, I got kicked out of school because I missed just about every deadline they threw at me. That'll be a familiar story to anyone else who had undiagnosed ADHD as a kid. I really wanted to study game development at university, but I was told that to do that, you needed a maths A-level, so unlike some of the kids of the teachers, I couldn't get catch-up classes, and eventually I fell too far behind to complete the A-levels I needed to get onto the course. So, while I always wanted to be involved with the games industry, it always seemed like it would have to be as a commentator rather than someone who actually makes games. Fine, no problem. I always had good writing skills thanks to autistically hyper-focusing on reading when I was a young kid, so I decided to try and become a games journalist instead. I loved reading games magazines, but that too proved difficult. While I'll always enjoy writing about games, it's a hollow feeling when what you really crave is designing your own. So instead of designing video games, I ended up making games that didn't require code. In 2013, I launched a website called the Omniverse, and it was an RPG in the truer sense of the term, in that you actually roleplayed a character. It was here that I really got addicted to game design. See, the Omniverse may have been just a forum, but the rules were extensive, allowing characters to be customized with stats, transformations, and pretty much every kind of superpower you can imagine, all balanced to make any kind of character viable. There were even fights, though these took place through the medium of writing rather than by pressing buttons. The Omniverse had a lot in common with tabletop games, except ironically I'd never played a tabletop game. While this project scratched my game design itch, I've never been incredibly social, and so running the site day to day was exhausting for me. On top of that, it just wasn't paying the bills. So after many years, the Omniverse came to a close. When the Omniverse finally closed down, it left me with more free time, and that's when I started really considering the idea of making video games. In the years since I'd left school, YouTube had blossomed into a hub for democratized learning, and it was possible for someone like me to learn how to make games. So I started to dabble in Game Maker Studio, watching Heartbeast's tutorials, but I was plagued by imposter syndrome, and I still couldn't properly code. One day, around 2 years ago, I happened to click upon the story of Nito Soji. Soji-san is a hikikomori living in Japan who has been on a journey much like mine, being a solitary creative with many interests, but who hadn't yet been able to focus them into a proper career. Like me, he'd tried writing, he'd tried art, and finally had started developing a game after discovering that Unreal Engine had been made free to use. This story lit a fire in me. I looked at this incredible beat-em-up that Soji had created, all by himself learning from YouTube tutorials, and it made me almost angry. Like, angry that I wasn't doing that right now. With every story I'd ever heard of solo and true indie developers, that little ember of hope had grown at the back of my mind. But it was Nito Soji's tale that ignited that ember into a burning blaze of determination. Would I look back in 10 years and start then? Would I wait until somebody else created the game that I had in my head?
No.
I did my research, and within a week I was learning Unity and C#. And that's certainly not been easy. In the past, I'd fumbled through running a website, sometimes relying on brute force trial and error just to get things working, but I never felt like I knew what I was doing. Until recently. In 2021, I was hit by a very sudden financial crisis due to circumstances beyond my control. Circumstances that threatened to derail my dream. So while I worked to undo the crisis, I created a backup plan. I'm not good at a lot of things, but one thing I do know is writing about video games. While I consider game development my true calling, I've always needed an outlet to talk about video games, whether it's on Facebook or Steam reviews or just to whoever will listen. 1 year ago this month, I decided to start writing articles again. But here's the kicker. Nobody reads blogs anymore or independent websites. I wasn't expecting much, but I don't think even a single person ran across that first article. It seemed like if I wanted to make games journalism a career, I'd have to give up the games dev, and that just wasn't on. So I went to plan B, YouTube. I opened video editing software for the first time and set about turning my first article into a video. And lo and behold, people watched. Not many people, but more than had read my article. Turns out watching videos is more fun than reading for most people. Bolstered by the excitement of learning a new skill, I branched out. I experimented with Let's Plays, reaction videos, streaming, memes, reviews, and anything else that seemed fun to me. But I always came back to the video essay, the article in video form. And the videos I'm proudest of are those that I spent a long time scripting and editing. But there was one more reason I made this YouTube channel. No matter what, I wasn't going to give up my game dev dreams. There is a reason I didn't call this channel eGregious Gaming. eGregious Games is, and always was, the name of my games company. Towards the end of 2021, it transpired that things were going to be okay for me financially. I'd spent most of 2021 planning for the worst and creating the YouTube channel as a contingency plan. But as a result, I'd spent far less time than I'd wanted working on my game. I didn't regret the time I'd spent picking up new skills. I think knowing how to edit videos is invaluable, especially as a game dev with many hats, but it was never my goal to be a full-time YouTuber. So I cut the streams and I slowed down the content production. What you'll notice is that now I come out with about 1 video a month, and that's what I'm happy with. I still want this channel to be an outlet for my thoughts on games. I'm still proud of my features, and I plan to continue releasing about 1 video a month, with some silly extras if I feel like it. But from this point on, there's one more type of video I'm going to be making. This YouTube channel was always a way for me to talk about games, but also ultimately I always planned for it to be a way to talk about my game dev journey and the game I was making. So, I want to reintroduce myself. Hello, my name's Greg. I talk about games, and sometimes I talk about making them. And in my next video, I want to talk about what I did this summer. I want to talk about my first game jam. But that is for the next video. Also, I'm being puppeteered by an ancient eldritch being in the guise of a small cute lizard.